Another one gone. That's not a headline, that's a pattern. And by the time this video is over, you're going to understand exactly how deep that pattern runs and why the people still standing inside this administration might actually be the most dangerous ones left. Let's start with what just happened. Trump's Secretary of Labor is out. Lori Chavez-Dermer is gone, and the story of how she got there is the kind of thing that would end careers in any other administration, in any other era, in any universe where accountability still existed. But this isn't that universe. This is the Trump cabinet of 2025. And around here, the exits aren't just frequent, they're spectacular. Because before we talk about the labor secretary, you need to understand the context. You need to understand that she isn't the first. She isn't even close to the first. She is the latest chapter in a story that has been building for months, a story about an administration that cannot keep its own people in their jobs, cannot keep scandal contained, and cannot keep the wheels on a vehicle that was already going 90 miles an hour with no brakes and no map. Let's go back to the beginning, because this started before anyone was paying close attention. First, they got rid of Gregory Bovino. That name might not ring a bell immediately. He was the one who was put in charge of Trump's paramilitary operations in American cities, promoted well beyond any rational job title, sent into multiple U.S. cities to run what the administration called deportation enforcement and what critics called something closer to political theater with guns. Then he was gone. No announcement, no ceremony, just gone. Then Kristi Noem went out, the Secretary of Homeland Security. And here's where the story starts to get complicated in ways that most coverage never fully explained. Because when Noem left, she didn't leave alone. She left with a story attached. A story that had been building for weeks in the background. The man who was not her boyfriend. The man who was, as everyone noted repeatedly and with great emphasis, definitely, absolutely, unquestionably not her boyfriend because she was very happily married. He was there every day, at every event, standing or sitting directly beside her. Not an official employee of the Department of Homeland Security. Just there. And then the marriage news arrived. The kind of unexpected personal announcement that lands about 30 seconds after everyone finishes, insisting there's nothing to see. And then the jet came out. Not a metaphor, an actual jet. A multi-million-dollar luxury private jet. With a bar, with a queen-size bed procured with taxpayer money, justified as necessary infrastructure for high-profile deportations. Because when you're removing people from the country, apparently you need a queen-size bed and a fully stocked bar to do it properly. The Department of Homeland Security was not going to keep that jet, it turned out. The White House was taking it instead, for use by other cabinet members. And also for reasons that were never fully explained to anyone's satisfaction by Melania Trump. The investigation into whether the not boyfriend had been demanding payments from companies with Homeland Security contracts is reportedly still ongoing. He denies all of it. But the secretary is gone, and the jet is at the White House, and the investigation continues without her. Then came the Attorney General. Pam Bondi lasted barely a year. In that time, she reduced the United States Department of Justice to something that people who worked there described in terms that are difficult to print. A smoking hulk was one phrase used. She was apparently just getting started, just hitting her stride when she was removed. She had just relocated into a general's house, military housing. Because one of the quiet perquisites of reaching the upper levels of this administration is that certain rules about who lives where simply stop applying to you. Military accommodations, which exist for military personnel, become available to civilians with the right connections. She had just settled into that arrangement when she was out. Then came the head of ICE, Todd Lyons, the director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, a man who, according to reports, had been hospitalized not once but twice since taking this job. Hospitalized because of stress. Not a minor thing, hospitalized. And there was a third incident, the one with the defibrillator, the portable defibrillator that members of his security detail retrieved from a nearby office because he was in such a state of distress that they were prepared to use it. They were ready to shock the director of ICE back into stability. Then he sat in a congressional hearing and could not answer basic questions from Representative Lauren Underwood of Illinois. Basic questions, not complex legal theory, not obscure policy minutia. Basic questions about why people were dying in ICE custody. Basic questions about why those deaths were not being investigated. He did not have answers. He sat there and the answers did not come. And then as soon as that hearing concluded, the news arrived that he was also out, resigned, gone next month. Now add the labor secretary. Lori Chavez de Romero's story began in January when the New York Post, and credit where it's due, they did a significant amount of reporting on this, published the first account of a complaint filed with the department's inspector general, and the complaints that followed were not minor. She faced allegations of drinking during the workday, in the office, during working hours. She faced allegations of taking staff members to strip clubs. She faced allegations of using taxpayer funds for personal travel. She was accused of pursuing a sexual relationship with a member of her own security detail. That security detail member was then placed on leave. Then he resigned. Her chief of staff was forced out. Her deputy chief of staff was forced out. Her director of advance was forced out. And then there was the husband. The secretary's husband was banned from entering the Labor Department's headquarters building. That ban followed reports from 2 Labor Department employees who accused him, the secretary's husband, of sexually assaulting them inside the building. He denies wrongdoing, but the ban existed. And the employees filed civil rights complaints, 3 of them describing a hostile work environment that extended across the department's leadership structure. And then the New York Times obtained the text messages. According to the Times, which says it reviewed the messages, the labor secretary sent texts to employees during the workday, not work texts, not policy texts. Texts asking them to bring her wine. One message asked a staff member to bring rosé to her hotel room. The exchange appears to have taken place at a hotel bar in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, during an official visit last July. The secretary asked whether they sold by the bottle. That is not a normal text message from a cabinet secretary to a staff member. But here is where it stops being dark comedy and starts being something more serious. The Times also reported on the text exchanges involving the secretary's father. Her father was exchanging messages with young female staffers at the Labor Department. Staffers who, according to reporting, were encouraged by the secretary herself to, in her words, pay attention to her husband and father. In one exchange from April 2025, an exchange that investigators were provided, her father wrote to a young female Labor Department employee, "Hearing you are in town, wishing you would let me know. I could have made some excuses to get out and show you around. Please keep this private." When the staffer apologized for not reaching out, he responded, "When are you leaving and where are you staying?" The secretary allegedly told her young female staff to pay attention to this man. 3 employees have filed civil rights complaints. The inspector general investigation was already underway, and now Chavez de Romer is out. Her lawyer said she did not resign due to findings that she violated the law. Her decision to leave was described as personal. That word, personal, is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Now, here is what is important to understand about the 2 most prominent figures who have not yet departed. Kash Patel is still the director of the FBI. His deputy, the podcaster, was removed, but Patel himself remains. This week, he filed a lawsuit demanding $250 million from The Atlantic magazine, following a story that described what reporter Sarah Fitzpatrick called his conspicuous inebriation. The report included accounts from more than 24 sources, current and former officials, people familiar with his schedule, describing drinking at private clubs in Washington, drinking at the Poodle Room in Las Vegas during weekend visits, meetings that had to be rescheduled because mornings were unavailable, and security detail members who had difficulty waking him because he was apparently unreachable behind locked doors. A request was made, an actual operational request, for breaching equipment, the kind used by SWAT teams, because the FBI director could not be reached inside his own residence. Patel denies all of it. He is suing for $250 million. He is still the FBI director. Pete Hegseth is still the Secretary of Defense. Let that land for a moment. Go back through everything you just heard. The paramilitary leader, gone. The Homeland Security Secretary, gone. The Attorney General, gone. The ICE Director, gone. The Labor Secretary, gone. The Deputy FBI Director, gone. And the people still standing are the ones about whom the most alarming stories have been written and reported and sourced and denied. This is the pattern. The ones who go are eventually replaced by the ones who stay. And the ones who stay are not the careful ones. They are not the steady ones. They are the ones who have demonstrated a particular quality that this administration values above all others. They absorb the story. They deny everything. They attack the source. And they keep going. There is a broader question underneath all of this that is worth sitting with. Not a partisan question, not a question about which political party you belong to. A structural question. What does it mean when the turnover in a presidential cabinet is this high, this fast, for these reasons? What does it mean for the departments themselves, the people who work inside Homeland Security, inside the Justice Department, inside Labor, inside ICE, when leadership is this unstable and this frequently compromised? These are not abstract institutions. These are departments that make decisions about immigration enforcement, about criminal prosecution, about worker protection, about national security. The people running them matter. The stability of those people matters. The conduct of those people matters. The wheels are not just flying off the metaphorical vehicle. The vehicle is the actual machinery of federal governance. And right now, that machinery is being driven by whoever survived the last round of departures, waiting to see who gets removed in the next one. Another one gone tonight? The question, the real question, is not who left, it's who's still driving. And where exactly this thing is headed before the next wheel comes off. Because if history is any guide, and at this point history is the only guide left, we are not done watching this story. Not even close. Stay ready.